Mazar of Sayyidina Abdul Aziz the Bagh, and then to the Mazar of Sayyidina Abdul Qadir Jilani. From there, we went to the blessed resting place of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam. And from there, I started to see the whole scene changing. Like it looked like uh, like a time warp, where the whole heaven, earth, and the hell Jahannam was mapped out, and you could see at the very top where it was Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's closeness and nearness, and then the top was very bright and lit up, and you could as though make out some parts of the heavens. And then I heard our teacher mention, "Now follow me. I will show you. I'll show you something." And then I followed them to the. I just carried on looking down, where they were looking, ready to, as though position was there, and I was watching like the hellfire, and it was lit up with the fire, as though the colors were changing. There were some parts of hell which were like the normal fire, some which were like blue, some parts were yellow, and some parts which were completely dark. And then they said, "Now I want you to look at this part." So we followed them to a certain area. It was completely dark, as though shaded, and there was very high cliffs, and I stood in their protection, and I was watching certain people who, just to describe a little bit, it was like a massive rope with hooks on it, very sharp hooks, and it would hook into certain parts of the human body. It would hook into them at 3 points in the mind, and in the center of the body, in the abdomen area, and at the feet, and there would be many people attached to this. And it would then, there was as I can remember, an angel. I couldn't really make it out because it was really dark, and it would as though launch the people into the deep cliff. And then I heard like a splash noise, and then I would hear like fizzing and boiling and screaming, and then the angel would take that chain out again, and he would carry on throwing it over and over again. And then I asked it, and then I didn't ask, but I heard our teacher mentioning is that this is what happens to those people who were shown but didn't appreciate it. And then I started to worry is that about myself and maybe others who have been shown this way and been shown and have yaqeen on this path in a low form, but do know and believe that this exists, that they saw that they have seen the Prophet ﷺ, and they've seen the heavens and seen the hell and seen the unseen world, to summarize it, but they have not taken heed or taken advantage of this blessing. And then I asked the teacher for forgiveness, and I apologized to them that I have not been appreciative the way I should be. And then they said that no matter how much a person tries to appreciate, they will never be as appreciative as they should be. So the main lesson for yourself and everyone on this path is to actually be thankful for this in itself. And then the vision actually came to an end.
Yeah. So as you can see, the kind of a very grave and dire situation also waits for us. In one sense, people who are already Muslims, like we ourselves, we have the path, we are following, so we got all these extra blessings and privileges. And so, in that sense, one is more in danger in a sense that the punishment will be such that by after knowing and receiving all these blessings, if you still not benefited or derive benefit from it, then that in itself is a punishment, and the punishment of the actual in the physical sense is greater as well. So I very clearly mentioned, some of the scenes of hellfire and the angels, how they treat people, how they would treat people and the sinners and the evildoers, and many scenes of the unseen. But really, it's mentioned why they are being affected, or why they have been treated that way, is because obviously they did not appreciate what they have. So what does appreciation mean? How do you appreciate things? The way you appreciate is by thanking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, is the ni'mah and the blessings we have, that we do not use it in a wrong and a haram way, use it in a halal way. Appreciating means the fully benefiting from a matter or a tool, or in this case path which is given to us, appreciating those who have actually shown us the way, thank them as well, i.e. the mashayikh and the teacher, and also then make this as our mission to then help and convey to others, Muslims and even non-Muslims likewise. And so part of this blessing is this teaching we know of Tazkiyah and of Tariqa Muhammadiyya purification course. And here, if you remember what Brother Abid said, that 3 places, I believe he said mind, it was attached in the head, in the center area, and the legs. So that's also indicating that the certain aspect of the purification course which covers these things, i.e. the mind level, the body, and our direction, the feet, where we end up going and what we do, that if this was purified, like he purified his mind, he's purified his body, that's what representing, he's purified his direction, his feet, where he goes, then maybe he would have been saved, or the one is given that people will be saved from these things. So again, like I said, part of the blessing is the course is laid out. We think we are following, we think we are doing, or we have done something, but it's gone maybe stale, or maybe it's become quite damaged, or like I say, very much derelict. If you imagine the purification course itself, an example given in the past by the teacher, like a plain analogy or a house analogy, and the foundations are like your Aqidah, fiqh, Aqidah, and so on, walls, we have learned about the roof, the ceiling, then the decorations inside. If that house is not looked after, if you don't hoover your house for a couple of days, 3 days, and guests come and go, look at the state. You can start seeing all the dust and the on the debris on the ground, and all the I could say slightly dirt starts to appear and so on. Now, if the house is left for a while, then slowly the house come to disrepair and become completely derelict. So tazkiyah in itself, in one analogy is given, is also like a house. If you think about, if the house is not looked after, even if you have a house, for one is many of us, we don't even have a complete house yet. Maybe you have 4 walls, the roof is missing, or maybe we have a broken roof, maybe one side of the wall is missing, or the foundation is weak. Any small, you could say, earthquake, any natural disaster we hear comes, it shakes up the whole foundation. And what is this earthquake referring to? Maybe the wind and the invitation of sin and so on. For those who have the house, maybe if the house is not looked after, it's been derelict. So in every situation, we have to now think about how to bring the house into top conditions again, how to repair my body, my mind, my heart again. So again, like I said, this is a lifelong learning, lifelong journey, like a marathon. Like mashallah, many brothers are getting ready for the marathon, in a couple of months' time. Look at the preparation they are doing, day and night, the eating, everything. They have to change everything, every habits. And at the end of the day, it's only 26 miles. But this marathon is even longer. It lasts for years. So that's why don't think this is a sprint. I'm going to finish in 6 months, in 8 months, in 12 months, or in a couple of years, and that's happened. No. Once you make your house, then it's a matter of maintenance. If you keep up with it regularly, the maintenance, then there's not much you have to spend. There's not much effort one have to give to ensure the house is in a good condition. So again, many lessons one can learn from, especially the other side, because obviously Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is most merciful. We always give him basharat and good news as well. But sometimes Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in many means can give warning as well. Warning could be in means of musibah, difficulties, loss. That's a warning from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. There's no wahi to come now, wahi is closed. Final Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam is finished, is closed, that door is closed. So how do Allah reminds people? Is through different things. And those who mashallah may be practicing the deen and following the path, and those who are now blessed with a spiritual eye which is opening, then they get some extra help and guidance. The Sharia and the Sunnah does not change. It stays the same. Nothing is added, nothing is omitted. But this is a means of encouragement for those who actually have certain, you could say, indication and basharat as well, or a warning. So jazakallah for that, inshallah. Next person.
After the transfer, I've actually met Huzur Sahib in Pakistan Zawiya, and as though they were giving a bayan, so I didn't want to disturb them, but slowly I went on the right hand side and slowly say my salam. Afterward, they started to show me the Zawiya as seen on the clip, pointing towards frames and all that pictures for a bit, and then initially due to tiredness I just fell asleep until you say the truth.
Anything from the namaz salah, maghrib? MashaAllah, that's good. MashaAllah, that in itself, that you yourselves have transferred and met the teacher spiritually. That in itself is a huge and a great niyama and blessing, because for a seeker, being in the company of the teacher is as though he reached his destination. Anything beyond that is light upon light. It doesn't really matter. Being in the company, as though the Mashiach said, is as though I've reached my destination. There's only whatever is matter of time what happens after. It's up to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, obviously, and then whatever Mashiach takes. So that in itself, like I say, is the biggest blessing, be in the company. But there's an indication given. Zawiya, obviously, what is Zawiya? Zawiya is a spiritual center where people are getting trained. They stay, they live. And for example, like the retreats are taking place in Zawiya. And they not only benefit, for example, obviously physically by being in a good company, but spiritually they benefit, they learn the path. So what's that's indicating that as Zawiya, it looks very beautiful, the decorations, everything's so matching and like designed to the T, as they say, and it's very beautiful and beholding for someone who's actually seeing this. The main thing with our Mashaykh and the teacher is they actually focus more on the inner. So this indication for our own inner as well, that our inner should be decorated like this. As you can see, the decoration in the walls, in the ceilings, every corner you see, there's a beauty. There's someone is a natural magnet, like as though a magnet attracting to us. So also our internally, we should be like this. Our beauty and is flourishing and is emanating, that people we interact, that they see as a magnet, as a good quality coming out, and we naturally get drawn into it. As we were discussing earlier during the day, like brothers were saying that, the purpose of purification course is, let's say someone does the first stage well, maybe inshallah, they're not masoom, but at least maybe something which is in our control, 90 to 95% of the sins can be controlled. Outwardly, if you do the 7 organ sheet well. So then normal public, for them, they don't even know what practicing is. They think of praying namaz, doing hajj, fasting, that's sufficient, which it is in reality, because how many of the Muslims, the billions of Muslims actually are practicing properly anyway, or doing the namaz, 5 daily prayer. Now someone now, for example, now going slightly higher, and he stopped doing sins, the 7 organs, then that person maybe think that yes, maybe 90% of the sins which I did a year ago, and a year later to the training of the first stage organs, that I managed to minimize. Although okay, I'm not masoom, no one's going to be masoom except for the Anbiyas and the Malaikas, but he thinks, mashallah, I've minimized it. Then what happens? Then person who doesn't have a guide or a sheikh, he thinks that that's it, I don't need anything else. People think like that anyway. Those who recite Quran, do prayers, you go and ask them, say about this case, what is this? I'm already practicing, I'm okay, you go and tell someone else. So now there's someone who's gone to the first stage, you think, Alhamdulillah, I've minimized it. I've clocked it, like they say in the local words. But then he's shown that, look, there's something else. You have to learn how this sin originates and how it affects you, and where you have a part to play, where you can even control that to minimize even the sin coming into your life. And that's the one in the mind stage, you learn the different stages, how to purify the intentional evil thoughts, and then slowly transform that into thinking about good things, and then go even higher, thinking about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and akhirah as well. Then that person normally, he thinks, that's it, I've done everything, there's nothing else left. I cancelled all the minus. I should be in black now. I've minused all my red. But yet they've shown that, like the what shaitan, unfortunately, as Azil at the time he did not have, is that he didn't know that he also needed to do tazkiyah from the inner, from the nafs, from the inner qualities of the heart, the arrogance, jealousy, pride, envy, and replace them with the good qualities. And with the mashayikh, and if he had a shaykh, then he maybe would have learned this. So these are some of the inner qualities. So sometimes we think, I'm fine, I'm okay, I'm doing all these outer things, I don't have much mistakes. But these inner qualities, normally it doesn't show itself. You're okay. Only time it shows when you start to interact with another fellow human being, another brother, another sister. It starts to show our inside how we are when we actually interact. When they actually go against us, they do something we don't like, we do like, whatever. That's when the inner comes out. As like you'd say, like a gauge or an indicator, performance indicator. So this showing this beauty is that no matter what people do outside, from your side, it should be very much beauty, and it should be very much pleasing to the eye who actually witnesses your inner when you come across them. That's all we're responsible for, nothing else. Obviously, if you can help that brother, that sister, whoever it is, that they listen to, that's a different matter. Like mashallah, our teacher does, and even some of the ustads who are mentoring other people and so on, they're trying to help from based on what they learn a little bit, one or two things. So really, we should actually also, one of the meaning would be to actually focus on that how I want to decorate my inner, and irrespective how people deal with me or how they react with me, at least I shouldn't react back in the same manner as they do as well. And as like mashallah, like yourself said, the zawiyas are very perfect. In every corner you look, it's very beautiful, very pleasing to the eye. So we should try to bring those qualities and reflect them as well, inshallah. MashaAllah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi.
Transferred and found the teacher on top of a mountain filled with snow. I sat down and gave salam to them. They then said to the nearest meeting that the journey to Allah and His Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam is not a one day thing or two, but it is a lifetime journey. Therefore, one should always refresh the intentions and truly reflect on where they are on the path. I then asked Hazrat Sahab that how can we avoid falling to our desires and shaitan. They then said to the nearest meeting, the nafs and shaitan will always try bringing a believer down, but one should
just said that part, always
try bringing a believer down.
Believe. Okay.
But one should restrain themselves from the inner desires and do not entertain them. They said something else, but I can't remember what they said. We then transferred to the mazar of the Grand Teacher.
So just on that, basically, as mentioned earlier as well, that sometimes we give undue rights or undue power to something that it doesn't have. So if you actually just think for yourself or think in your own time, that okay, people they actually sometimes we come across many people, they use that as an excuse to carry on with their habit, because one can actually headlong think about it, because at the end of the day, that if that desire of mine, for example, or that urge that I'm having, or this evil thought that's coming, that in reality, how powerful is it? Is it physically making me do the act? Or is it as light as just a thought? Is it physically making me, that's it, I feel as though I'm out of control. Then they come to us, maybe it's jinnat, they have another excuse then. Because sometimes they never actually put themselves in the center of and say, look, you've got a part to play here. Either it's the shaitanic thoughts or jinnat is qabz. Many marriages break down because they don't live together well between husband and wife. And then they come to the ustad, they say, oh no, just can you please check? Maybe it's got jadoo or jinnah, that's why he's behaving like that with me. Or maybe I've got jadoo, I'm behaving like that. But thing is, we're in denial. We never actually think that, look, what is my part here in this? Have I got anything that I can control of? Am I to blame or not? So likewise, when the urge comes, just think and say, okay, urge is coming. Is it making me do it or just a thought? At the end of the day, if you really boil it down to, yes, maybe coming from your stomach, from wherever you feel it, but where is it coming down to? It's coming to your mind. And what can I do then? If it's just a thought level, what can I do to counter that? Is I can bring another thought to counter this thought. And it's as easy in one sense as that, because thought in itself is latif, very, very light. So if someone cannot overcome this very light thing, then what can you expect from the person to do anything else, any other sacrifice? Going in the war, in the battle, is a huge sacrifice. You're gonna, there's a danger, your limb's gonna be cut, your hand's gonna be cut, even maybe our heads can be chopped off as well. That's a greater sacrifice. Like Sayyidina Imam Hussein radiallahu anhu, and all the blessed people who are sacrificed physically. Imagine that, if you were in this position, we've had thousands of one thoughts, oh no, don't go, the wife get killed, what if this happens to you, if that happens to you? And imagine that in our case, it's only thought at the end of the day, if you boil it down to, where is the actual agency, what is the actual control system where this information gets passed on to? It comes from the nafs, maybe from the shaitan, externally someone's inviting, but where does this information gets processed? It's in the mind. Although, there's different agency, different levels I'm talking about. But the processing place is the mind. So at the processing level, if you think about it, those who know science, is a binary. It's just a matter of zeros and ones going through your mind. And we are basically becoming so weak, saying that these zeros and ones are actually making me do something. I end up doing this sin, I end up taking drugs, I end up doing this act because of these zeros and ones, this information that's entering my mind. So if you just think like that, then you think, oh, it's quite foolish actually. It's quite foolish, irrespective of what the sin is, that I actually thought about it. So in a way, in science, like they have, for example, like huge tanks of oil. And in order for them to use that, they have to distill, they go to the various process of distillation. And at the end of it, what they go through is maybe a very small pipe, the steam that goes through. And then it becomes like a different level of, kerosene, oil, diesel, whatever else. So that process, you have to go to a very thin line in order to become a product. So in our case, that thin line is the thought. After the thought, then it become physical, then it becomes a great thing. So if you can just think it's only a thought, I don't have to follow. And then counter think that, look, for sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm going to sacrifice that thought. And see what Allah ta'ala gives you instead. And see how much blessing you get instead, inshallah. So that's something that you should just focus on. And many people complain, I get overwhelmed by urges, thoughts, this, that. But then we never think that as a human being, what has Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me in this instant that I can control over. So that's something, inshallah, really think about it. Then you find that each urge comes, each issue comes, is very easy to deal with. It's only a thought. It's only a very light thing. Why should I get bothered by that? Inshallah. So you have more to say, or you had more to say? Yeah.
We then transfer to the mazar of the Grand Teacher. We give salam on this head. One should not become complacent, because when one does, he becomes swayed and tends to cruise control and his attention sway. So one should always refresh themselves and remind themselves of their purpose in life, because it is a long journey and it can become exhausting at times. But one who frequently refreshes themselves and truly ponders on their state continues the journey and excels.
So basically it's referring to, obviously, refresh here, we just always refresh intention. So for example, like we are told at the beginning at least, that you should check your intention at the beginning, before, let's say, an act you do, then during the middle of it, during the course of it, and also at the end. So that way what happens is you check for the other thing. Sometimes you're doing some act, maybe there's some kind of public attention there, or whatever else, or your nafs, our nafs likes it. So then you, by checking, you check yourself, now still I'm doing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Not for because I'm getting some kind of praise, or because my nafs likes it, but no, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then again, in the middle, you might feel, oh, I'm tired now, I don't want to do this. But you have to complete to the end. So by checking your intention again, you think you're fatigued, you're tired, your intention is there, you check and say, no, I'm doing for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He's still the same Lord. He's still here, and my reward lies with him. Then that way you carry on, you get the motivation to carry on. Then towards the end, again, you might feel happy, I've done it. So the thought could come, yeah, I've done something today, and I've achieved something, which is good, but then you attribute to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is by His mercy that I've actually managed to complete this. So again, check your intention like that. So either way, if you find yourself, you're going to too extreme on this side, you became too happy, yeah, I'm doing the amals, or because of there's other motives, because of maybe praise, because of maybe some kind of worldly benefit, you can check against that. If, for example, you're feeling tired, I don't feel like doing it, but checking your niyat, then you're checking against that as well. So you keep it balanced, inshallah. Okay, jazakallah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum assalam.
During the Lata'if cleansing process, there was one thing I noticed. That, well, I can't remember what colour it was, but I was getting flashbacks of certain things that I was thinking during the course of the day or the week, and certain actions that I had done during the course of the day. That's one thing I noticed. And after we transferred, found the...
Now that's quite obvious, because like the Ustaz mentioned again and again in the retreat, that these Lata'if are like very, very light thing. At one level, it's like an X-ray machine as well. That with certain you could say scale that we do it, you get to realize that when you do something physically in the world, like you said, during the day, during the week, and then you do the cleansing of the Lata'if, then it shows up there. So that in itself, now that you become more and more confident and more and more, I could say, competent in this, that sometimes yourself, I shouldn't have been doing this, because you light up later on when I do the amals. So sometimes it becomes more and more clear and obvious as well. And the whole purpose of that is then you then actually learn or find a way how to stop that. So this mistake or this habit, whatever, like you were saying, it doesn't become persistent or consistent in my life. That I do something about it to rid of. And if you find yourself, no, I cannot work it out myself, it's too much of an issue, I don't know what the right approach is, then you can seek advice as well. And maybe by the advice of the ustaz, or if not even the Hadr Sahab, then what happens is then you find a solution how to deal with it. And that's the whole purpose of this as well, if you think about it. It's no point that I see this problem happening. So it's like, for example, you have a problem, let's say you got some kind of problem in your bone, and every time you do some exercise and it hurts, and you go to the x-ray, so please do x-ray, scan, is there something wrong with the bone? And you do an x-ray, say there is something wrong. But you don't do treatment, you don't do anything, you just go back, start doing the same, whatever you do, sports, whatever, and it hurts again. And you go back to the hospital, could you do a scan? See if there's something wrong with my bone. And if they do a scan, or sometimes there's something wrong because I feel it when I touch it as well. So you do your self-scan by touching, for example. But yet you don't do anything about it, you don't go for treatment, you cancel your appointment, for the referrals, and carry on. So then why think with someone if asks you that what is the point that you get an X-ray done and MRI done? What's the point? It's so that if you identify, then get that rectified. There's no point that you're going back again and again. Many people come to, for example, healing, they ask, do a scan. I said, what's the point? What are you going to do? I just want to know if I've got a problem. I said, well, if I tell you a problem, what are you going to do to rectify? If you're not willing to rectify it, then what's the point? I might as well carry on as you are. Because similarly with the Lata'if as well, Alhamdulillah, I've noticed, but then you have to have the mental mindset that now I have to do something about it as well, inshallah. And then if you're still there may be something else, then Ustad could help as well, inshallah. Yeah? Okay, yeah, please carry on.
After transfer, I found the blessed teacher in Pakistan Zawiya. From there, transferred to the Mazar of Sayyidina Abdul Aziz we sat down and Nazir Sahib told me to do zikr of the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So we're doing this, the name zikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Is this any specific name or just Allah?
No, just the name of Allah.
Mm.
And then we started to do that, and there was like as though light was entering the whole area, and darkness started to leave the body, and there's like inside me was started to fill with light. Also yourself was there, and Brother Gulfan was also present, and from there we went to myself and Nazir Sahib, we went towards the Kaaba Sharif, and as if we were stood with the hands on the blessed Kaaba. Nazir Sahib said to make dua, which we did, and then it started to rain, and Nazir Sahib again turned around and said to make dua, because duas are accepted when it rains. And then from there we started to walk towards the blessed Rosa Mubarak of the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam to give salam, and that's when yourselves started to recite Durood Sharif.
MashaAllah, there's a blessing there obviously with these experiences that should refresh our iman, cherish those moments, and carry on, especially that yourself is indicating that when you do go through difficulties where you think you cannot turn left or right, certain issue you go through in your own life, then always use the means, the power of dua. And certain times, obviously, the duas are readily more accepted than others. So, for example, you've learned how to do muraqaba dua. Sometimes, you're going through a problem in your life or something happening, and you just almost, for example, stressing yourself out. But never you think that, I'm going to turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, I'm going to spend half an hour, I'm going to do muraqaba dua, remember Him, I'm going to present all my issues. Do that, for example, tahajjud time, for example, is the most blessed time. Or like in front of Kaaba Sharif or other, times as well. Rather than you're stressing and be getting fatigued and very tired of life because of the issues you have, you don't know where to turn, you don't know who's going to help you, no one can help you, is turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Like the teacher have said, ask and make dua to Him. Use the muraqabah dua technique that you've learned. Then you see the difference in your life as well. Sometimes, some things in life you just cannot tell anyone. You can't open your mouth because, you don't know who to say, what to say as well. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is fully aware of what you're going through. And He's the only being in totality. He can change the whole scenario and whole circumstance as well. For example, you come to me, maybe I say, brother, I've got this issue, that issue, whatever. Maybe I'm powerless, I can't really help you, apart from, lending my ear to you, for example. So always utilize that as well. Maybe like you said, sometimes you are going through some things and you don't know where to turn, but this is the means we should do, inshallah. Okay? Okay, jazakallah. Okay, now inshallah, if there's anything that one mentioned, that any questions or any difficulties, then please do mention. I think the man is at 1:15. So yeah, no, if you have anything to relate, then please do, but specifically I'm saying that something that one is struggling, or any questions to clarify, then inshallah, if I know, I'll mention. If I know, then I'll find out, I'll ask, I'll learn myself, and then I'll relate to you, inshallah. Walaikum assalam.
Doctor, you said I'm not allowed to do muraqabah except in front of Hazrat Sahib. So I haven't been doing it, but do you know when that restriction will be lifted, or when I'll be able to do muraqabah again? I still attend, but I don't do it.
These muraqabahs are, remember, is only means to something else. But if you have that something else already, whether you do muraqabah or not, you shouldn't really worry about this. Or it's like, and I'll give you an example, is if you, let's say your destination, you want to go to Makkah Sharif, and some people, obviously majority of people, they go by plane, but some people, like some brother from London or somewhere, he's gone by a pedal bike, he cycled it there to Makkah Sharif. Now you've arrived by plane and you look at his story as, I've lost out, I should come by bike, I've lost out, he enjoyed so much. But then again, you're not appreciating that within one day, within 12 hours you arrived, and he spent maybe 6 months training, practicing and traveling. You didn't have to do any of this after you arrived already. So then, but if you become, start complaining, no, I don't, I'm not happy with the tour operator that he brought me by plane. I want to come through bike. Then he's actually in a way doing a disservice and we could say ungrateful to the people who provided you the service, i.e. the plane flight, who paid you for the ticket, for example. So likewise, sometimes main thing is, if you're doing your deen, following your deen, praying your salah properly, following the tazkiyah course, then everything else we do, this muraqabah, very important, but it also serves as a what? Motivator. You increase your iman, go for example, ilmul yaqeen to ainul yaqeen. What is the purpose of having ainul yaqeen? It's so that you follow the religion, you follow the deen, follow the path, follow the sunnah, isn't it? So if that's coming into your life, then do not worry about the other aspect. This will come slowly, we become more and more better, inshallah.
You also banned me from the tazkiyah, so...
No, I mean, tazkiyah is not just a word that you eat like a halwa or something like that. I've banned you can't have the halwa now. Tazkiyah is part of tazkiyah is praying salah as well. Whatever amals you've been given to do the amal is also part of something. Okay? So for this, inshallah, if you keep in touch regularly with the ustad, then that's fine. You don't have to worry much about it, inshallah. And in fact, in reality, no one is banning you from anything. It's sometimes because I'm saying, sometimes you text me privately and I give you answer. So if you really follow that there's your course there, but maybe you don't understand that, that's why. Yeah? Okay. Inshallah. Yeah, anyone else? It's 10 o'clock now. Jazakallah for your time. And obviously, may Allah Ta'ala, increase in your iman, in your amal, bless you. And also forgive me for anything I've said or anything I've mentioned which is not correct or against the adab of your, obviously, pious and blessed brothers, inshallah. And inshallah, they make dua that we continue in this path, whichever way. It's not about my effort. Am I doing it perfectly? But Rafi, if you're also here, it's not about my effort. Am I doing it perfectly? Is no matter what, if I can just carry on doing it, that Allah is pleased with. What I'm doing a little bit here and there, although it doesn't deserve Allah's, being presented in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the mashayikh. But, by their own grace, by their own compassion and love, they're accepting it. And carry on like this until, inshallah, we will die one day with iman. That's what we can hope for, inshallah. Nothing more, nothing less, inshallah. Okay, jazakallah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk. La hawla wa la quwwata illa billah.